Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Spring Boot classes. As in previous class, we learned some of the modules in Spring Cloud. So with that, we conclude all the modules in Spring Cloud. Today, we are going to learn about Spring Security. What is security? Security means whatever the web application we are developing, we have to secure that. So for that, there is a different concept: authentication and authorization. So here Spring Security, what is a powerful and highly customizable authentication and access control framework. It is a de facto standard security Spring-based applications. Spring Security is a framework that focuses on providing both authentication and authorizations to Java applications. Like all Spring projects, the real power of Spring Security is found in how easily it can be extended to meet custom requirements. The main features are comprehensive and extensible support for both authentication and authorization, protection against attacks like session fixation, clickjacking, cross-site request forgery, etc. Servlet API integration, optional integration with Spring Web MVC, much more. These are the high-level features. So in our most of the our classes, we are learning basics things about each module. If you want to learn new things and as well as the in-depth of that thing, you can go to any other website or check in the chat GPT or Gemini. Then you can learn more things. In going forward, in our classes itself, we will learn each and every concept. Okay. Now, coming to under Spring Security, there is one module called Spring Security Kerberos. What it will do, it's an extension of Spring Security. Application developers Kerberos concept with Spring. Then Spring Authorization Server. Spring Authorization Server is a framework that provides implementation of the OAuth 2.1 and OpenID Connect specifications and other related specifications. It built on top of Spring Security. It provides secure, lightweight, and customizable foundation for building OpenID Connect, identity providers, and OAuth 2 authorization server products. Now, Spring for Graph Query Language. Spring for Graph Query Language provides support for Spring applications built in GraphQL language Java. It is a joint collaboration between the GraphQL excuse me, Java team and Spring Engineering. Our shared philosophy is to provide as little opinion as we can while focusing on comprehensive support for a wide range of use cases. Spring to GraphQL is the successor of the GraphQL language Java Spring project from the GraphQL Java team. It aims to be the foundation of all Spring GraphQL language applications. So this about the GraphQL language. Next, Spring Session. What is Spring Session? Spring Session provides an API and implementation for managing user session information. Features: Spring Session makes it trivial support to cluster sessions without being tied to an application. Container. Container specific solution. It also provides transparent integration with HTTP session, WebSocket, web session. What HTTP session will do? HTTP session will replacing the HTTP session in application container, that is Tomcat, neutral way, with support for providing session IDs in headers to work with RESTful APIs. What is WebSocket? It provides the ability to keep the HTTP session alive when receiving WebSocket messages. Web session allows replacing the Spring Webflux web session in an application container neutral way. What modules it Spring Session contains? Spring Session Core, Spring Session Data Redis, Spring Session JDBC, Spring Session AgileCast, Spring Session MongoDB. These are the modules under Spring Session. Okay. So Spring session for Apache Geode. So what Geode will do at the end of the VMware announce is jump file projects. If you see overview, Spring Session for Apache Geode provides an implementation of the core Spring Session framework using Apache Geode to manage user session information. Session state is stored in Apache Geode by leveraging in Spring data for Apache Geode. By integrating with Apache Geode, you have the full power of the technology. Strong consistency, low latency, high availability, resiliency, and so on at your fingertips in your Spring Boot applications. What are these features? Spring Session for Apache Geode provides the following features: HTTP and WebSocket session state management using Apache Geode as the backend. Clustered and distributed session management improves on the availability and resilience of your system architecture. Strong consistency. Apache Geode implements strong consistency guarantees, much like database. Custom expiration policies. For example, support for fixed session timeouts. Custom data serialization. Enable the HTTP session state to be serialized other than by Java serialization, so that the application classes you put into the session do not need to implement serializable. Custom change detection. You can decide whether the session is directly or not and what gets sent between your Spring Boot application and the Apache Geode cluster in a client server topology. Powerful publish subscribe mechanics allows you to register interest of expression interest in session changes based using a query predict to receive notification of updates. How we can do? Just we can add to the pom.xml, then we can use in the same thing in the configuration. This is how we can mention in the Spring Boot starter session, Spring Boot framework Geo Spring Geo starter session. Yeah, this about the Spring session for Apache Geode. Then we can learn other modules in coming classes. Thank you. Have a nice day ahead.